Look, here is a really key document that was sent to me today. Thank you very much to Ian Davis, who writes for inthistogether.com and also for us. This is SPI-M-O. This is the modeling section of SAGE. And this is their consensus statement, and they're saying SPI-M-O's best estimates for Ireland, England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland are between 0.8 and 1. For Wales, it's between 0.7 and 0.9. So there's no justification for lockdown here, but this isn't the interesting bit. The interesting bit comes further down the document. It says SPI-M-O is concerned that as prevalence of infection increases and a large proportion of the adult population is vaccinated, the current definition of death, i.e. death within 28 days of a positive COVID-19 test, will become increasingly inaccurate as a measure of the health burden of the epidemic. It will also potentially distort the estimates of vaccine efficacy. So we're going to translate that in a second, but before we do, we'll just show you this article in the I, which was published today based on this report. I think it was today or 3 days ago. Current definition of COVID deaths could distort vaccine success data, scientists warn. And the key quote from this is, a senior SAGE source said, if the definition remains the same, these people would be counted as vaccine failures, whereas the vaccine prevented death from COVID, but they really died from something else. I suspect that the current definition will have to be revised at some point. So what SAGE is saying here, or at least this section of SAGE, is that this definition of death from COVID-19 of being 28 days, within 28 days of a positive COVID test, is complete and utter nonsense. It's always been nonsense, but it has suited the government to use that definition because it allowed them to maintain certain levels of numbers and maintain a certain level of fear in the population up until now. But at this stage, SAGE is very concerned that that definition no longer suits the narrative, because that would mean that people would be counted as vaccine failures if they were attributed, if their deaths were attributed to COVID-19. So there is an acknowledgement here, absolutely implicit acknowledgement that PCR tests are not showing COVID deaths, so they're not worth the paper they're written on. And they're basically saying that if the government relies on PCR tests, that will show that a mostly vaccinated population getting ill from COVID or dying from COVID, that vaccines don't work. So they are very, very concerned about that. And it's just staggering to me how the narrative shifts 180 degrees when it suits them.
Yeah, if the police are investigating a murder, Mike, the key thing is the body, isn't it? Is there a body? Has a body been found? Because the body is key to the murder. And it seems to me that what we've got here is that the government policy, possibly cock up, but I don't think so, it's calculated, has been producing death throughout the care system, throughout the care and residential system of the elderly, throughout the NHS. We know this because we've now got NHS medical staff coming forward. So death rates have increased. It's increased under lockdown, as you pointed out, because people can't get medical treatment. And now all of a sudden the government wants to redefine death. To me, this is a very crude attempt to actually cover up the crimes that have been committed over the last 403 days.